Today we are going to be looking at graphing linear equations. And for our picture, this is kind of a funky picture. It's just a bunch of hands together to make a face. And it just, I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. So there's our picture of the day for today. First piece of information we need to know, standard form. A linear equation in the form ax plus by equals c is called standard form. A, B, and C all have to be real numbers. For example, 3x minus 16y equals 27. That would be an equation in standard form. We are going to be dealing with graphing linear equations today, and our first step to graph an equation is to choose at least 3 points. Remember that your domain is what you put in to your equation. Step 2, find the range for the domain. Range is your output. Step 3, plot the ordered pairs. And step 4, connect the points with a line. These are linear equations, so they will make lines. And remember for a line that you need to show that it does extend in both directions forever and ever and ever. So you will need to put arrows at the end. Let's look at the equation 3x plus 2y equals 12. This is in standard form. First thing we need to do, we need to choose values for the domain. So I'm going to choose values of, let's do 0, 1, and 2. Make life a little bit easier on ourselves. I always choose 0 when I can. So when I put this in for x, if x is 0, 3 times 0 gives me 0. So I can just ignore this, cover it up, and think 2 times what equals 12? Well, 2 times 6 is going to give me 12. So that's my first ordered pair, the ordered pair 0, 6. Now let's put in 1. 3 times 1 is 3, so I'll have the equation 3 plus 2y equals 12. Subtracting 3 from each side, that gives me 2y equaling 12 minus 3 is 9. Divide each side by 2, and y is going to be 4.5. So when I input 1, my output is 4.5. Let's try 2. If I input 2, 3 times 2 gives me 6. So I have 6 plus 2y equals 12. Subtracting 6 from each side, 2y will equal 6, which dividing by 2 leaves me with y equaling 3. So step 1, I chose inputs or domain values of 0, 1, 2. Step 2, I found range values or outputs of 6, 4.5, 3. Step 3, I need to graph those ordered pairs. So 0, 6, 0 side to side, up 6. 1, 4.5, over 1, up 4.5 units. And then the last ordered pair, over 2, up 3. My last step is to graph these ordered, or to connect these ordered pairs with a line. Again, you will want to make sure that your graph has arrowheads because your line continues forever and ever. So you want to show that by putting arrowheads at the end. And hopefully your line will be a little bit more centered than mine. Your turn. In your notes right now, graph the particular equation that we've got here. Pause your video at this point and graph now. Does your graph look something like this? You did not have to choose the exact same points that I did, but your line should look quite similar to mine. Example 2, we're graphing the equation x equals 1. This time, they're telling us exactly what x has to be. We can't choose any different domain values. So x is going to be 1 no matter what we choose. Y, on the other hand, y can be whatever value we want. So I can have y be a value of 0, 2, and 7. Graphing that, I have the ordered pair 1, 0, so that's over 1 up 0. Then I have over 1 up 2, and over 1 up 7. Again, connect those with a line. And make sure you have arrowheads at both ends of your line. Your turn, you're going to graph y equals 4. How do you think that this graph will compare to the previous graph that we just did? Pause your video at this point. Did your graph look something like this? It should be a horizontal line. Again, you can choose different input values or different domain values, but your range values will always be 4 for this problem, and it will make a horizontal line. Next problem, this equation is presented to us in what's called slope-intercept form. We are still going to go about it the exact same way. We need to choose 3 values for our domain. The values that I would recommend, since we're multiplying by a -1/2, I would recommend choosing values that were evenly divisible by 2, just to make life a little easier. So I'm going to choose values of 0, 2, and 4. Substituting those in, 0 times -1/2 is going to give me 0, plus 4 is 4. Substituting in 2. 2 times -1/2 is -1. -1 plus 4 gives me 3. 4, putting in a 4, -1/2 times 4 is -2. -2 plus 4 is 2. So there's step 2. Graph those ordered pairs. I've got 0, 4, 2, 3, and 4, 2. Connect those points with a line. And make sure you have an arrowhead at each end. Your turn, last problem. You need to graph the equation y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Pause your video at this point. Again, you can choose different domain values, but the values that I chose were ones that were evenly divisible by 3 since I was multiplying by 1/3. Your graph should look something like this, whether you chose the same domain values as me or not. For your homework tonight, you are creating 3 problems for yourself. One problem, you need to write an equation in standard form, then graph it. The second problem, write a 1-variable equation. That would be like the examples we had, x equals 1 and y equals 0, and graph that. Then number 3, you need to graph an equation in slope-intercept form. So you are creating 3 of your own equations and graphing them. Do not use the examples we've already talked about. See you tomorrow.